Hi friend, I hope you're having a blessed day. Again, I know most of you probably saw the announcement I made yesterday. However, if you haven't and you're wondering why this video is late, I will now be uploading on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Uh, just due to the fact that how I'm now working at my job, which I'm very thankful for. Sunday is just not a viable option for recording these videos. So like I said, move Sunday over to Monday. Uh, and I feel like that also gives me a bit more time on Sunday to reflect on the message I heard at my church, and also to, if I so choose to preach on that message as well, gives me more time to be introspective on it. So yeah, friend, that's why this video is coming out today. Again, most of you probably knew that, but for those of you that don't, I figured I would explain it. Today's message I have decided to title Grief and Hope, and it is in Ezekiel chapter 24, verses 15 through 18. And the verses are as follows. Also the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, behold, I take away from thee the desire of thine eyes with a stroke. Yet neither shalt thou mourn nor weep, neither shall thy tears run down. Forbear to cry, make no mourning for the dead. Bind the tire of thine head upon thee, and put on thy shoes upon thy feet, and cover not thy lips, and eat not the bread of men. So I spake unto the people in the morning, and even my wife died, and I did in the morning as I was commanded. Friend, like Friday's message, this one pertains to Ezekiel. Ezekiel was a bit of backstory. Ezekiel was told to purge all the uncleanliness from his life, all those things that are sinful, and his wife didn't follow those rules, so the Lord said he would take her. But this is obviously a sad thing for Ezekiel. However, it also is a message of trusting in the Lord and doing as the Lord says. The day after God said he would take his wife, he did. And a lot of people don't even have that, I guess you'd say courtesy. No, not courtesy. That warning, there we go, that something is going to happen to the ones they love, even though honestly it could be rightly expected. And obviously Ezekiel, he was grief stricken, because even though his wife was very sinful, and he probably could have guessed that would happen when God told him to purge his life of all sinful things, and she didn't stop sinning, it was still the woman he loved. No matter how sinful a person is, if you love them, friend. And typically, it's hard to stop loving someone just because they're sinful. It's just someone you love. I mean, you love your mother, your father, your siblings, or perhaps if you don't have the best relationship with any of them, I'm sure there's a significant other, and even if not that, I'm sure you have a best friend, whether that be human or animal. And while I don't think an animal can rightly sin, at least not by our definition, if you have a human best friend and they're pretty much all you have in your life, like I believe Ezekiel's wife was not all that he had, but it was a good chunk of it, it's hard to let go of them, even if you know they're sinful and you're trying to live your life rightly. Because, well, you love them. Ezekiel was stricken with grief and he mourned, but not as the people of his day would typically mourn. Most people in that day and age, when they'd mourn for their loved ones, it was I'm not going to say an act, but honestly, it looked like an act. They would go out in the street and rend their clothes and abstain from eating and just put on this big show of I miss them. Which, I feel most of us can understand, if you miss someone truly and dearly, you're gonna want to show that. But God instructed him otherwise. God told him, no, don't do as the people of your day. Not even necessarily because it's sinful, but because it's a message. It's a message which is comparable to how God destroyed Ezekiel's wife because of how sinful she was. God was then going to use Babylon to destroy Jerusalem for how sinful Jerusalem was. And you could say Jerusalem was like Israel's wife because of that great connection. Jerusalem was at that point very much the capital, or is the capital of Israel, and it hits close to home the same way a man losing his wife would. And basically God was telling Ezekiel, mourn in private, almost as a show to Israel that they essentially brought it on themselves, or at least Jerusalem brought it upon itself, the destruction that was going to come from Babylon. And he instructed Ezekiel to act in such a way so that Israel can look at that and say, well, maybe this is how we should properly react to the destruction of Jerusalem, because it was our fault and Jerusalem's fault that Jerusalem was destroyed, and do we really have a right in mourning? Something I believe I know I mentioned that Ezekiel's wife was sinful, but it could be said that Ezekiel was also at fault for the destruction of his wife, because he didn't follow the proper steps in ensuring that she was excuse me, that she was not sinful and would be spared from the destruction of the things in his life that were sinful. So, in a way, it's Israel's fault for the destruction of Jerusalem, much in the same way that it's Ezekiel's fault for the destruction of his wife. And though Ezekiel would have, if not instructed by God, done as was custom in his day, and probably gone out in the street and mourned exceedingly, he's doing as God told him, because he was supposed to be an example to Israel. And just as with Ezekiel, God will ask us to do hard things. Maybe not necessarily for the men out there, kill your wife and then tell you not to mourn, or for the women, kill your husband and tell you not to mourn. Which I know that sounds quite jarring, friend. Hearing me say God kill someone, I feel like that was a poor choice of words. Strike down would be more apt in saying, due to the fact of killing is almost always either not injustice, not an injustice, but seen as like a bad thing. To strike down, I feel, would be more apt, because it's a necessary thing God had to do. And though I don't think it'll be a necessary thing in your life, friend, God will have to strike down someone in your life and then tell you not to mourn. He will do things in your life, friend, that at the time seems difficult, obviously, and he will then tell you to do things in such a way that you normally wouldn't go about. Whatever happens, your natural reaction, he might tell you, no, don't do that, do this instead. And obviously, friend, while that's a difficult thing to do, we should follow God in his teachings and in his commandments, because, well, he's God. Uh, God knows best. Uh, Anything he tells us to do, if it truly is from God, is always just. You know? And though we may not like it, even and though the world may not like it, how God tells us to act, we have to do it if it is from God. Uh, that's not to say there won't be times where outside forces that aren't God perhaps won't try and convince you otherwise. That's a lesson for a different day, friend. At this point, I'm sort of rambling. I'm sorry for that. I know your time is precious. We only got so much of it. But yeah, friend. God will cause us to be grief stricken, and ask us to do things that we may not see the point in or necessarily want to do. But trust me, friend, or trust not just me, trust God, friend, and he will do what is best for you, friend. That's about it, friend. Still praying for everyone who needs prayers. But yeah, remember, friend, I love you, but most importantly, God loves you. God bless, my friend.